and welcome to this episode. I'll put this under the history propaganda instead of bits and bytes. I think this is more appropriate. Of course, I'm marking the occasion of this being May 26th, 2025, in that it's Memorial Day in the States. And this is I think it's the first time that King Charles and Queen Camilla have come to Canada. And of course, they're being hosted at Rideau Hall by the Governor General, and they're doing their royal thing. So I figured, why not show my true face? Let's put some effort into it. Admittedly, my face hates me right now. Absolutely hates me. I never did well with shaving. I have so many scars all over my face from those years, so I don't do it very often. Naturally, I just rather let it grow. I don't stress about things like this much anymore unless I have to, because, well, it's not my job, right? Not my job, not my monkey, not my circus. Mm-mm. Now, I got a couple things I want to cover. One of them is, of course, me wearing, if I haven't before, these dog tags and this service medal. This one here. I think this is a good place to start. I bought these, I admit, from an antique store in Toronto. Now, on the inscription it says LTDM Steel. So it is my surname. And it is me. Like, I own this. These are mine. But they're not. So I know some people get really butthurt and anal retentive over, stolen valor and the like. But here I am. I'm wearing my Air Cadet t-shirt from, I don't know, 23 years ago. I have my wedge here, right? This is my wedge, right? I went through the pain in the ass that it is to polish combat boots, only to to walk 4.5 kilometers through mucky grounds, to take a photograph, and to to communicate a point. And it's that a veteran can be anybody. I'll say that again. A veteran can be anyone. And not all of them are good people. Some of them are seriously messed up, seriously screwed up, and they will never be the same way again. Now, I didn't bother to look at the back of this presentation case, of course, with the royal seal on it of Canada. And it says, of course, it's Lieutenant Steele's serial number, then central, and then underneath is marked 12/74. So either that means it was number 12 of 74 presented in that ceremony on that day, or it was presented to Lieutenant Steele in December of 1974. Now, I happen to have emailed Veterans Affairs more than a year ago about this, and I asked them, will you help me with this? But, the attitude that the Canadian government has towards its veterans and towards its service members is very much a stone wall. And it's been like this for decades. It's very much the difference between an American and English attitude of aristocracy. Because in the military, of course, there's a division line between the officer corps and between the enlisted corps. And that means the lower classes of society that were uneducated, and those of the people of society, traditionally speaking, that had university degrees or came from higher class, better off families that happened to have titles and positions within politics and gentlemanly professions. So what is a gentleman? A gentleman, by English tradition and definition, is a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, or an engineer. Those are the 4 professions that are available to a gentleman of the gentry. So, I don't wear this out everywhere. This is the cheapest ounce of gold that I own. This came from an era where they were given in gold. At least I would like to think so. I never really searched this out too much. And it's not like Veterans Affairs came back to me asking, with a response, telling me exactly, Lieutenant Steele's service record. But he's of my family, or she. You never really know because they won't tell me. Maybe I'll have to write another email and see how this goes. But if he was in service for 12 years in order to earn this in the forces, up to 1974, that means he was in service at the same time as the Vietnam War. Case closed. Now this is a copy of Legion magazine from January, February 2018. And I took this, I brought this home with me from prison because, well, there's no staples in this thing. And it's falling apart. And it has a couple of stories, one of them having to be with the replacement of the Lee Enfields. Then, of course, the service of Canadians within Vietnam. Anyways. Again, the Canadian public doesn't want to have involvement. It wants to have conflicts in other places at arm's length. They want things to be sanitary, right? We want to accept everything. We want to be so welcoming and accepting of everything, and so tolerant, and so beautiful, and so virtuous. But the truth of the matter is that there is real ugliness to humanity. There is real ugliness to humanity. And I've seen it. I've seen it. And I didn't have to get bullets. I didn't have to have bullets flying at me in order to experience that. Now, there's something else in here, which I'll find. This last article is about, of course, at the peak of the Iranian Revolution, militants took 70 hostages in the U.S. Embassy. 6 other American diplomats escaped, thanks to the Canadian caper. So the United States Congressional Gold Medal, the country's highest expression of national appreciation, is cast with the likeness of the honored individual, and Kent Taylor received his in 1980. So I believe that's with the movie with Ben Affleck. Okay. Of course, the Legion magazine is published, as far as I could tell, and I may be wrong about this, by the Royal Canadian Legion. Of course, there's a mention of Prince Harry in here about the Invictus Games. A little more than a mention. He's got himself a full-page article. And of course, this was the era in which Julie Payette was Governor General. And the article that I wanted to talk about with this is suicide prevention. Suicide prevention strategy, a step forward, by Sharon Adams. So there's a multitude of reasons as to why people fall into the downward spiral of self-immolation, or of the example that I'll give, of course, is the climate Scientologists, not Scientologists, scientists. Scientologists are not scientists, or maybe they're Christian scientists. But it's talking about the risk factors and what Veterans Affairs was doing at the time, and this statement, of course, by the CDS, the previous CDS, more than a few years ago, because there's been a few since him, General Jonathan Vance, talking about this. So here's what really sticks out to me, and I'm not going to go over my experiences with recruitment, or how I had a commissioning package come to me at 19 years old and how I told them no. I had my reasons for it. But again, I look back and I wonder how different would my life have been. But then I hear about the stories about the social experiments and the treatment of our people in uniform. And that makes me disgusted. Because this is not a simulation. This is real life. So I hope you pick up what I'm putting down here. Because if you don't, man, I can't help you. But this is a statement towards the end of the article. We must be deployable. We are an armed forces after all. But we also have to think in terms of the valued individual who's not deployable, but is employable. VAC's initiatives included decreasing case managers' load ratio to 25-1, suicide intervention training for staff, $4 million in emergency funding for all veterans, not just VAC clients, so Veterans Affairs Canada, $13.9 million to promote individual research and services, and establish a center of excellence on post-traumatic stress disorder and related mental health conditions. Now, I may have not have been a POW, and I don't want to be a prisoner of war. But what I can relate to you guys, the ones that do happen to watch this, is that I was held in prison for a year on remands for what you would call misdemeanors in the States, or here in Canada, they're called summary charges. And it didn't need to happen. There's so many things that we try so hard to accomplish in a military mindset, right? A logical and a succinct and a linear strategy, because that's what works. But the politics every single time gets in the way, and every time the politicians come into get their dirty fingers into things, they try to reinvent the wheel, or they're under pressures from the people that funded them to conduct social experiments. And of course, the military has a long history of doing this to its own people. And not just that, also medical experiments. And again, like I said before, not every veteran is a good person, but some of them are extremely messed up. I don't know very much about Lieutenant Steele, but I would like to think that he is happier knowing that I have his medal and his dog tags, and that I wear them with honor and for the right reasons. Not because I want to have prestige or I want to have command and power over other people. I never, in my life, claimed to be more than what I am. But I'll tell you one thing. You know why they call me Steele? It's because my balls clank when I fucking walk. So I hope to maintain that as best I can, even into my old age. So I'm not going anywhere, man. I'm not going anywhere. And I will not accept assisted suicide as an option for health care. We can't just forget the things that are embarrassing or the things that we think are unsightly or ugly about humanity. We can't just, push people aside and act like they don't exist. We can't, in a free and democratic society, even Canada, even though it's a constitutional monarchy, we can't just push people aside and expect, for them to not notice it. That's my message for today. I hope you're listening.